Welcome back to the 2020 Region Rundown Series here on AccessWDUN.com. Bo Wilson across the screen from Jeff Hart as we move down to Region 8 4A. We started with the largest region or classification that we cover, which is 7A, 6A, 5A. Those are all on the Friday game night page. You can go check them out now as we take a look at those. But today, Jeff, we dive deep into Region 8 4A, a very interesting region in our coverage area.
Very interesting. You've got it's remade with elements of 8-3A, 8-5A, 7-4A, 7-3A, and part of old 8-4A. So it's kind of like it was a wayward home for people that didn't fit. I suppose is maybe what you could call it. I don't know, but I tell you what, this could end up being one of the best regions in the state, certainly in Northeast Georgia. Me and you have talked, and we'll get into that, how athletic this region could be. When you look at it, you've got the only two teams that return are North Oconee and Madison County. And then you've got new additions of Cedar Shoals out of 8-5A, Chestatee Branch from 7-4A, East Hall moves up from 7-3A, Jefferson moves up from 8-3A. Who is gone is Oconee County, Stevens County, St. Pius. So, boy, there was a lot of moving parts in this. I think this could be a great region.
I think it might be one of the, if not the best region as far as our coverage area goes. And, of course, up in 6A would be that's going to be a great region as well. But this region, automatically when you look at who is in the region, you see Jefferson and you see Flowery Branch, and you say those two are on a collision course for a region championship. That's just my opinion.
And buy your tickets. Yeah, buy your tickets now. If you can buy tickets. I mean, hopefully we can. We'll, we may have to watch it on Skype. I don't know. But I think that's already got earmarked. That's surely it's going to be an instant class.
You would think it's going to be because of the two programs and how and the two coaches and
how they're intertwined,
and,
right?
With Coach Ben Hall at Flowery Branch, once had Jefferson as the head coach.
And speaking of Ben Hall and Gene Cathcart,
we got
them, and they're going to talk about their teams and what they think of Region 8-4A, and maybe we should just go ahead and get right to it and see what they got to say.
We welcome Flowery Branch head coach Ben Hall to the 2020 Region Rundown Series, Jeff, as we roll into the brand new Region 8-4A. Coach, welcome to the show today. How you doing?
Thank you. I'm doing great, guys. Thanks for having me on.
All right, Coach. Brand new Region 8-4A. Give me your initial thoughts when you saw the new regions come out.
Well, it's going to be a very competitive region, to say the least. I mean, you look at perennial teams, Jefferson and North Oconee, followed by, Cedar Shoals, Madison County, Chestatee, and East Hall. I was just running down our region schedule there. There's some very athletic teams and teams that are used to postseason play, and it's going to be a lot like the region that we're leaving in 7-4A when you have, we were playing teams like Marist and Blessed Trinity and Denmark. So, you go from one very competitive region to the next.
Now, I don't want to say that it's a step down from where you were at, but surely it's not going to be quite the slobber knocker that the old 7-4A was.
Well, I'm not going to say that either. It depends on how the season goes, and teams. Each team's different year in and year out, and we have teams in this region that are perennial playoff teams. So we did have a tough schedule last year with Blessed Trinity, Marist, Denmark, and then in the Hall County schools. So we have some of the same familiar faces with the addition of Jefferson and North Oconee, Cedar Shoals, which we're used to playing those guys as well. So it's going to be tough, and we know what we're headed into.
Well, Coach, you get rid of, as Jeff was saying, the two private schools in the region. You add in Cedar Shoals, who drops down from Class 5A, which you guys played against for a few years when you were in 5A. But then you add Jefferson, who's bumping up to 3A. We all know about Jefferson. You've coached at Jefferson. So do you feel like Jefferson maybe makes up for losing the two private schools, or at least one of them?
Well, you look at, and I said this when I came to Flowery Branch, there's not a tremendous amount of difference between 3A, 4A, and 5A when you look at the regions that we've been in over the last 4 years. Jefferson is a tough team, very traditional program, great community, and they love their football there, and they're going to field a very competitive team year in and year out. I don't want to say that they make up for anything. Blessed Trinity Marist, they are what they are. With Denmark last year, probably the most talented team in the state in 4A last year. So I don't want to say that the Jefferson, the North Oconee, the Cedar Shoals make up for not having those three teams in the region. The region, regardless, when you get to region play, every region is going to be competitive, regardless of where you are.
Yeah, Madison County might be a team that could be overlooked when you look. You got you guys, you got Jefferson, Cedar Shoals. Madison was a quarterfinal team last year in 8-4A, so it's not like that they were a slouch. Now, I believe that they're losing a few guys, but I think a lot of people would look at this region and say Flowery Branch, Jefferson, probably the top two, Cedar, Madison, right there. What do you know enough about the teams? I know the scouting's been tough with no spring and things like that. What do you know? Who do you think are the teams to beat initially? As we try to hopefully roll into a fall practice.
Jeff, and I don't want to sound cliche, but that's really, really hard to say. We're really concerned about Flowery Branch Falcons and trying to figure out what kind of team we're going to field, and being in the situation we're in, not having our kids since early March. It's hard to say. We just hope to retain our kids and have them come in somewhat ready to start working and preparing for a season. So I'm more concerned with the 95 guys that I have on our roster than I am the opponents that we're going to play not until later September. So we will evaluate each and every team just like every week of the season, year in and year out. But right now, and I think most coaches in the state would echo that, they're more concerned with when are we going to start and who are we going to have with us.
Well,
go ahead.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
So me and you talked a little bit before this, Coach. Ellingham being one. You got 2 or 3 guys that are being looked at by several colleges. What do you have coming back? Who's going to be at quarterback? And I say that because everybody always wants to know who's going to be a quarterback. But what do you know that you have coming back when you look at the success you guys have had the last couple of years?
Well, I know that we have 7, 8 guys, and depending on how you look at it, offensively returning. We were very young offensively last year, and a lot of that had to do with the quarterback situation that we could not control. Defensively, we lose the back half, but we do retain 4 guys up front, and then a couple of linebackers that are going to be in the mix there, returning as starters. Jason is being recruited. Some places are recruiting him as a running back, and some as a linebacker. So he'll play both sides of the ball for us. And then we have 2 offensive linemen with offers, and Cody Bradford and Daniel Tulk. Those 2 guys are continuing to develop, and hopefully that we're able to get together this summer so they can visit some schools and prepare themselves to be the best that they can be in the 2020 season, so they'll have an opportunity to further their career.
Well, Coach, going back to this new region, East Hall, they're jumping up from 3A to 4A. Michael Perry in his second year over there with that team. Cleek Cooper, I think he was like 10th in the state in passing. There's probably still a few unknowns over at East Hall right now, but them moving up with what Coach Perry tries to do with his offense, how do you think they fit in with you guys in Region 8 4A?
Well, we played East Hall last year in the season opener, and Coach Perry had only been there a short time, and so we really didn't gain a true assessment of what they're going to offer this year. And you look at the kids that they field year in and year out; they're always very athletic and can line up with anybody. So I know Coach Perry's a proven coach, and he'll have those kids ready to play, and just athletically, just based on athleticism alone. They'll be able to line up with any team in our region.
Well, that kind of takes me to the next question Jeff and I were talking about, earlier today. And I brought up the standpoint we were trying to find, okay, what region, what team has, the best athletes in the 7 regions that we cover, whatever 8 or 9 regions we cover. And my first thought was Region 8-4A. Got a lot of athletes in it. Do you feel that 8-4A is filled with a lot of quality athletes?
Oh, definitely. And regardless of Region 8-4A, 8-3A, 8-5A, Region 7-4A, you're going to see really good athletes year in, year out. You can look, early February when these kids are signing scholarships, there's always very impressive athletes come out of these regions. So, top to bottom, 8-4A will be as athletic as any region in 4A in the state.
Is this going to be an offensive region, or is it going to hinge on defense? 7-4A seemed it was really a defensive type region, even though you had some offensive teams like Denmark. But when you look at the games that y'all have with Blessed Trinity and Marist, just defensive slugfest. How do you see this region? This looks more of an offensive region, at least to the naked eye.
Well, we like to pride ourselves as a defensive team, and we want to play a physical brand of football offensively and control the ball and limit turnovers. But most importantly, we want to be considered a defensive team. So it's hard to say. I mean, just because teams score a lot of points doesn't necessarily make them a great offensive team. It depends on matchups, and I think that had to do with the numbers last year in 7-4A more than anything. I mean, you had some balanced matchups, and you had to earn every yard.
I got you. Well, like I said, you got Christian Charles at Chestatee. He's putting up huge numbers. He's getting some Power 5 offers, mostly at defense. Again, we talked about Cleet Cooper. I think he threw for 2,500 yards as a freshman. Might be. We were trying to figure out which region. You probably got Gunner up at Raven, but which region has 2 better quarterbacks like that than this region, which kind of, I guess, makes you feel like there might be a little more offense in this region, but not necessarily is what you're saying.
It depends on the matchup, in my opinion.
Bo?
Yes.
I didn't know if you had a question.
For a minute, sorry. All right, Coach. Well, as we kind of end the interview here with you, 8-4A, you want to make any predictions?
I'm not touching that yet. I'd like to.
I had nothing to do with that, Coach.
Look,
just
I asked all the coaches this so far.
Making predictions on the region schedule. I'm just hoping we are able to get the kids back in the house here before August 1st. And we're talking as a coaches association. July 6th is an optimistic date. August 1st is realistic. The next 2 weeks in this state will prove crucial to the entire nation and how they view our current state of this pandemic that we're in the midst of. So I'm just praying that everybody, this subsides and people start to get healthy and we get back to somewhat normal before we have to start school next year.
Well, Coach, are you taking the Zoom meeting opportunities with your players? Are you implementing anything over Zoom? I'm sure you're sending workouts out and all types of stuff to your players, right?
No, we're not having team-wide Zoom meetings. We're doing it a little differently. I try to talk to most of the kids once a week and just reach out and catching these kids on the phone. You text them, say, look, I'm going to call you, and kind of give them a heads up so they'll answer the phone. But we put Hall County is ahead of the game with the Canvas program that we have. And, most people don't know, but we've prepared for the distant learning or the virtual learning or the school at home, whatever you want to call it, over the last few years where we've had a day each semester where we've actually done this. So Canvas allows us to do it. We've utilized Canvas with our football program and created a Canvas page. And so we're able to upload a lot of information, not only offense, defense, and special teams, but, the headache paperwork stuff that you have to have in place before you start. And if we can get all that stuff taken care of and have the kids somewhat have an idea of schedules, when we get together, we feel like we're ahead of the game. But May 3rd is our date. We're going to have a virtual spring practice where we'll do voice over Zoom meetings and upload them so the kids can watch them on their own time. The problem you have when you try to have a team meeting, so you try to have 95 kids on a Zoom call, well, you may get 60 to 65% of those kids on that call, then you end up having to repeat it. So I think by us recording and uploading it to Canvas and allowing the kids to watch it on their own time will be more efficient for us. So we'll see how that goes. So you may want to call us back after the first week of May, but we're going to do that. And now you look the month of May, the month of June, we have plenty of time. So I don't want to, just because these college coaches are tweeting out saying that, they're meeting, daily with their position groups. Well, that's fine. But what's more realistic for the high school athlete? And you take my household, for example, I have 2 educators and 3 students in my house. Well, between the Zoom calls and the academics that you're taking care of first, I'm not going to take away time from the kids by having them, requiring them to participate in a Zoom call. So we can tell if they watch it on their own time. And if we can get every kid to watch it, then we feel like we're ahead of the game there. So, but we are going to try some live Zoom calls after next week.
So what you're telling me, Coach, is you're going to have a Canvas virtual spring practice.
That's right. So we're trying to figure out. We coach Hall County. I joke with some coaches here in the county about trying to figure out how to practice football through Canvas, and I think we've gotten about as close as you can.
Oh, here's a great idea. So at the end of this virtual spring practice, you get who you're going to scrimmage. Were you guys going to have a scrimmage with another team this year in spring practice?
I think we're going to do it on Madden.
That's what I was about to say.
We're going to create our own teams and then play it on Madden.
The question is, do you have tryouts to see who gets to play the Madden live? That might be more fun than the actual football practice.
Unfortunately, the kids on our team that win the Madden live tryouts, may not be the ones that you want to lean on come September.
Oh, that's good.
We appreciate you taking time to talk to us today. As we try to navigate through these, what do they call it, unprecedented times as well with no sports coverage. So we're trying to do our best. So thanks for dropping in with us today.
Guys, you do an awesome job, and hopefully everything settles down here soon, and we have some real sports to talk about.
Doubt. Please.
All right, Coach, take care.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Coach.
Coach Gene Cathcart from Jefferson joins us here today as we continue our talk of the 2020 Region Rundown Series as we feature Region 8-4A this morning. And, Coach, welcome to the show first off. And secondly, Coach, you guys not only moving to a new region, but moving from Class 3A to 4A. What's the feeling over in Jefferson about that?
Well, first off, thanks for having me, guys. Good to see you and Bo and Jeff. And, we're excited about any challenge. Right now with the way things are, we just like to get our football team together. You miss those guys and miss seeing the coaches and doing, working every day where you're not seeing them through computer. But, we're familiar with most of the folks in the region that we're going to. We got a lot of respect for it. It's an awesome region, a lot of depth, a lot of quality coaches, and of course we're leaving a good region. But in the GHSA and its infinite wisdom, thinks that somebody who's never gone to school in any other district ever should count as 2 people for us. So we'll be playing with 3A numbers, but we're excited about facing the 4A challenge.
Well, Coach, you mentioned a lot of good coaches in that region. There are. me and Bo have speculated that this could be one of the most, if not the most, athletic regions in the North Georgia area, regardless of classification. When you look at some of the teams are in there, y'all very athletic. Flowery Branch is athletic. Cedar Shoals is athletic. You know, you got Christian Charles at Chestatee. You got Queek Cooper at East Hall. He was top 10 in the state in passing last year. You know, Madison was a quarterfinal team last year. North Oconee finished second. It's pretty good. This is a quality. You said it. This quality region. You came from a quality region. You know, just in looking at the names that are in there, how do you figure that this is going to go? We see you and maybe Branch as the teams to beat, but what do you know about the other teams in particular, and really who's to be lookout for?
Well, you know, like I say, we have some film on last year from folks, and you know, and I think you know, Bo, you and Jeff know. I mean, you guys are as knowledgeable as any folks we ever talk to, and this off season, how people deal with that, it's going to be so huge. How many, you know, exactly what happens over summer and this, that, and the other, all those unknowns. But what we do know, Jeff, like you said, is it's a deep region. You know, obviously, we know Ben very well. He's, you know, one of my good friends in coaching, and they've done a great job. Finished last year in the top 10 in 4A. You know, have taken Blessed Trinity to the wire in multiple contests, which Blessed Trinity's the dominant team in 4A pretty much most years right now. And you got North Oconee, who, like you said, I think Coach said they finished 9th in the region. Have been on just a great run. We're 10-2 last year. Cedar Shoals, Leroy Riles went to the 3rd round. Unbelievable athletes, but also just does a great job as a coach. Madison, Chris had such a great year last year. Was most everybody's area coach of the year for the great job that he did. And then you throw in East Hall, who scheme-wise and you know, does as good a job of throwing it around the yard as almost anybody in the state, and can hang a big number on you on a given night. And not to mention Sean Conley, who we've been friends with for a long time, as an outstanding athlete and quarterback, and he and his staff do a great job. So hope I haven't left anybody out, but you know, it is a challenging region. I mean, without question. And we, like you said, we left a challenging region, but I don't know that you know, that there are any quote struggling teams in this one. This one is whereas ours may have been a little top heavy in the other region, this one has about 5-6 teams competing for 4 playoff spots.
Well, Coach, it's no secret that you're going into this upcoming season, you know, replacing your starting quarterback and Colby Clark, and you know what a great leader he was for you guys for 4 years. I don't know if that. I know that's a hard thing for you to do this year. Maybe I know Malachi just picked up another Power 5 offer from Virginia Tech, but maybe give us a little insight on who's going to be the leader of the Jefferson Dragons in 2020.
Well, certainly, you know, what we went through 2 years ago, Bo, helped us a lot in depth. All those injuries and that year, a lot of those kids got to play when they're younger. Malachi, no question, is, you know, just head and shoulders one of the finest athletes that I've ever been around. And he and Carter Stevenson will, you know, Carter started 6 or 7 games for us his sophomore year and played a lot of safety for us last year. And those guys, you know, were going to get the vast majority of reps in spring. Of course, both of them would have probably still been in track, but returned a lot of good running. But I think, Bo, out of last year, I think we had 17 different players have rushing touchdowns and 14 or so of them return. But as you mentioned, a lot of those were Cade McNally, you know, so we've lost some good players. The thing that concerns us offensively, Bo, is just straight up the middle. You know, we lose a center that was an all-state player in Mason Ware. We lose a quarterback, obviously, who started, you know, umpteen games and did an incredible job for us. And then our fullback, Cade McNally, which in what we do offensively, even though we are multiple and what we base out of, you really have to be strong up the middle. So we're counting on some very good players, but maybe not that ones who have carried as much of that weight yet.
Look, I know it's tempting to want to put the ball in your best player's hand, and I think we'd be, you know, amiss if we didn't say that Malachi is probably the best player on the team. But it's also, you've got a lot. Even though you lost McNown, you lost Colby, those were your top running backs. You got Colton James, you got Malachi, Jordan Perry. Coach, I don't know, 1,600 yards and 15 touchdown combines between that trio. You also returned 6 of your top 7 tacklers on a defense last year that was outstanding, including 12 interceptions, scattered around the defense. I mean, you got plenty of pieces. Is it tempting to put Malachi under center, or with his versatility around?
Well, I think, that's a great question. Obviously, we feel like we have a lot of very good players. We feel like obviously he's going to, he wants to be a quarterback. We would love the ball to be in his hands. He's a charismatic kid. He's leaders, he's just a natural leader. But there is also the possibility of using him in other ways to get him the football. And, Carter gives us a guy who started in the heart of region games before at quarterback, did a great, I think it was 6-1 as a starter. Did an incredible job. We've got Max Aldridge and Mikey Sheehan, 2 guys that quarterbacked our undefeated JV team last year too, so that frees us up maybe to do a little bit more with Malachi. But, certainly we went to this offense with the understanding that, we had Colby coming and we had Malachi coming, and we had a lot of good running backs that you mentioned, several of them right there, and several good fullbacks. So, we'll see how it plays out. The beauty of this deal is once it gets here and we're able to, there'll be open competition. And the good thing about this is football's a meritocracy, like and to sit here and talk about it this time of year, especially with all that's going on, it's a lot of fun. And I miss talking ball with you guys and everything. But the beauty of the deal is it'll sort itself out by who wins jobs and who has the best summer, assuming we get that, in the preseason camp and those types of things. But I would think that number 24 will be heavily involved at some point, somewhere in the deal. So, yeah.
And we've been talking offense, but talk that defense, because this looks like this could be one of those defenses that people talk about around the state if everybody stays healthy.
Well, and we returned so many good players at the second level. We've got Rem Maxwell, Caden Bailey. We've got Rem was our leading tackler. We've got Spencer Neese. We've got Jordan Perry. Then that's just the linebacker level, and I'm leaving out a few. Austin Redmond. Then we go to the next level, and we've got, of course, Malachi. We've got Hunter Blayton, who's an outstanding safety. We've got both corners returning. They're really quality players. Cam Robinson and Nick Evans, and some guys that got some depth. Where we've got to have some guys step up is on the defensive front. We don't have a physical Caleb Chandler or Dante Wilson guy. We've got some very good high school players, but against these bigger bodies where they have more depth in 4A football and probably a little larger linemen and things like that, we're going to have some guys really step up on our defensive front. And do a great job for us.
All right, Coach, you are, well, we're all in the COVID-19 shutdown right now, and I've read some stories, Robin Hines saying that perhaps maybe late June you guys can get back. I've also heard from some of the coaches saying that the dead week, after the dead week, is when you guys can come back. So, if you are able to come back after the dead week, do you feel like that's enough time for you guys to prep and get ready for game one?
Again, these are great questions, and Bo, I wish I would say yes if everybody's at the same starting line. Mm-hmm. If everybody has the same opportunities. I do worry about, obviously some of them have weights at home, just like every program, not just some of them have been doing push-ups and some of them have worked harder than others. So obviously, the GHSA will give us plenty of time injury-wise to make sure that, we do what we do and get them ready to play. But there's so many rumors floating around out there and plans. Somebody sent me something yesterday that Ohio is prepared to play high school football in the spring. As a control freak, OCD, mentally defective football coach, I will say, we're all so against the unknown. And this is tough on everybody. And football is way down the priority list of America's issues right now, like, and school districts issues, but it's important to us. It's important to our kids. And, gosh, I hope it all works out, but I'm as long as everybody has the same starting line and, there's nobody, who's, it's not like part of the state opens up and then another part doesn't or what have you. And I don't think anyone would ever allow that to happen. We'll control what we can control, as the coach cliche goes, and do the very best we can to help get our guys ready.
All right, Coach. Well, we appreciate you taking a sliver of your time out today to talk with us. I always enjoy it. It's always fun to get caught up with you and the Jefferson Dragons.
Well, we appreciate the great job y'all do covering us, and hopefully we can actually talk some real ball. And, we would have actually been giving out equipment today to get ready for spring practice. And, you guys usually would be coming to a spring practice, so it'd be more fun talking to you guys outside on the turf field or the grass field. But great to see you, and hope everybody stays safe, and appreciate all y'all do covering us.
All right, Coach. Take care. Enjoyed it.
Y'all have a great one.
Of course, you have both coaches having a lot to say about the new region, about their teams, about some players that are coming back, and of course, it was interesting that neither one of them wanted to make any predictions.
No, we asked, hoping that maybe somebody, they'll slip up.
Yeah.
I guess that's no. I don't know that I'd want to make a prediction, particularly in that game. That on paper looks like a toss-up. I mean, you might perhaps give Jefferson a slight edge right now just because of the sheer number of returners that they have. But both of them, Flowery Branch may have the slight edge in quarterback, which is kind of odd because, if Renard comes back and, and he started pretty much all season, so we have a whole year under his belt, come back, and of course Jefferson. Now, if you put Malachi under center for Jefferson, just for the sheer athleticism and what he can do for you, it's kind of hard to say they don't have the edge of quarterback. I tell you what, that's going to be a great matchup in a great region. And of course, we don't want to. I mean, look, there's some teams in here. If we start going down the list like we've been doing with our region rundown, let's just that they were 8 in Clark Central. And they lost in the second round, but that was their third straight trip to the playoffs, which is the first time they've done that since 2002 and 2004. So they're on a roll as a program. However, they lost their quarterback, Jalen Rusher, who had 1,100 yards and 13 TDs. He ran for 760 yards and 6 more. They also lost their top 2 wide receivers. They're returning QBs at Cedar, 1 of 6 for 15 yards. In 2019, that's what they have returning that played anything under center, but they do return their top rusher, and this guy right here can carry a team, Jordavian Colbert, 1,300 yards, 13 TVs. So I think when you look at Cedar right off the bat, they're probably going to have to be a little run heavy, but they're going to have athletes. They're going to find somebody under center that's going to be probably able to fling it around. And while they did lose their top 2 receivers, they have 3 other guys that came back that saw significant action. So, they're going to be athletic. That's going to be a tough matchup.
Well, Jeff, that kind of goes along with what we ask, both coaches about. Could this be the most athletic region? The most athletes, because you look over at Chestatee, they've got Christian Charles. You look at Jefferson, they've got Malachi Starks, along with several other athletic kids that are getting offers.
Right.
Flowery Branch has kids getting offers. Jason Ellingham is back, the leading rusher there. North Oconee, Madison. You were talking about Madison County with a quarterfinal run last year. North Oconee with a second round run. So a lot of athletes in this region.
Lots of athletes. I thought what was interesting is both of them mentioned East Hall. Now, if you look at East Hall, they went 2-8, they're 6th. Mm-hmm. They finished 6 and 7 3A last year, but they returned Cleet Kubry was 10th in the state all classifications with 2,499 yards. Somebody could have stretched the ball 1 more yard, couldn't they?
Yeah, they could have. Just give me 1 more yard.
He had 11. Yeah, 1 more yard. But he had 11 TDs and 11 interceptions. Well, you got to figure that they're going to improve of that, especially in Michael Perry's system. And it was interesting that both coaches mentioned East Hall because, East Hall is a school that traditionally has athletes. They can field athletes in pretty much any sport. They returned Montabor at 720 yards on the ground. They did lose two of their top four, and they lost their top two and four of their top six receivers. But, receiver is a position where you can plug people in and you can find kind of what you need. I tell you that the issue with East Hall is going to be defense. They gave up 42.7 points a game in 2019, and that was in the bottom 5 in Class 3A.
But that's been a problem for East Hall for the last few years.
Last 2 years, they've been able to move the ball offensively. So you got to think that that's an area that they're going to. I mean, really, there's only way to one area to go up. There's only way to go up, for something like that. But they're, when you look at the athletes that we just talked about with Chestatee and Jefferson and Flowery Branch and North Oconee and Madison County, you're going to have to play some defense or you're going to be in a world of hurt in this region. So East Hall, that's going to be something that they're going to have to, they're going to have to figure something out there, And of course, we heard from Cathcart about losing Colby Clark.
Mm-hmm.
He was their top rusher, played quarterback started almost four full seasons. But we mentioned they returned Colton Jones, Malachi, and Jordan Perry that saw significant time in the backfield. 1,600 yards and 15 TDs on the ground. And they returned 6 of their top 7 tacklers on defense, 12 interceptions scattered around the defense, including 5 by Stark. So, there's a team that's going to play some defense. That's one of the reasons I kind of like Jefferson, I think, out of the gate here, just because when you look at what they have returning, Flowery Branch could play defense, but they lost some guys. So, but I tell you what, this is going to be, a great region. And, it's really hard for me to say Jefferson probably has the edge, but I'm just looking at what they got return. I kind of like them initially out of the gate.
Well, you look at all these teams that move up, move down. So Cedar Shoals, as you said earlier, moved down from 5A. You look at Flowery Branch and look at their schedule from last year. We talked to Coach Hall about this schedule that he has this year in the comparison to Blessed Trinity and the Marist. And, of course, he didn't really go there, as far as comparing the two regions. But you got to think Branch playing the competition that they played for the last 4 years, and they've been there and they've competed there and they've been in the running for the top spot in the region. You got to think this move up for them, or this move in regions for them, is just not really that huge of a deal for them.
No, I tell you, the last 2 years, like you said, they played the Blessed Trinity, they played the Marist. They were with, basically 2 plays from beating Blessed Trinity and Denmark twice, 2 plays, and they beat Blessed Trinity twice, who I think we heard either Hall or Cathcart or both say, that's the penultimate team in Class 4A. You beat them, and you're a state title contender. And Flowery Branch was right there. The 2 years before that, people forget that they played Buford late in the season. Winner would have gone on to win the region championship. So they were right there the last 3 seasons. I don't think that they're going to be scared of the competition. I just think when you look at what they lost defensively, they lost the Watson kids. Okay, I mean, how good were they?
Yeah, that's huge.
They lost some other guys. And they're going to have to, if they get a little better offensive play and they can plug in some of the holes of defense, they're going to be just fine. But like I said, I think Jefferson probably has the most returners. We've got a little scouting report on like Madison and North Oconee. And both of them are losing, defensive players of the year, athlete of the year, on quarterback, 1, 2, 3. They're losing about a dozen first and second team players out of 8-4A last year. So, I think that you got to look at Jefferson may have the slight edge just by what they return. Now, injuries will play a factor, how all of this is going to play in, whether we get back, what kind of a schedule people are going to be able to play. And how do pieces fit? Again, they don't have a true quarterback at Jefferson.
Yeah.
But, you put a guy like Malachi Starks under center. I mean, there's a guy he's got, he can go to the house every time he touches the ball. So, and make plays. So this is going to be a fantastic region.
All right. So how do you rank them? I know you.
How do I
you
rank
said
'em?
earlier that you'd probably go with Jefferson out of the gate, but
I'd go with Jefferson just
what
right
does
now.
late
Probably go
October
Branch.
look like?
Late October. You know,
Hey, wait,
I
hold on.
think that
Let me
there's a
restate
couple of
that.
things.
What does late October look like if we start on time? There you go. I have to get that.
If we start on time. Well, I tell you, there's a team we haven't talked about that much yet, which is Chestatee.
Yes.
You got Christian Charles. There's a guy, 2,000 yards passing last year, 900 yards rushing. Certainly has to put him among the top players in all-purpose yards, all classifications in the state of New York. It's almost 3,000 yards. So, if they find some pieces now, but he loses Seth Presley, who was 12th in the state in receiving. He's been like in the top 10, other than probably the top 12 each of the last 3 seasons. So that was his go-to guy. They lost their top 3 wide receivers, but if they can find some guys to plug in, to go with Christian Charles, they improve on defense. Chestatee could be a team that could quietly be there at that time of year, depending on how they improve during the season. But I probably would go to Jefferson just right now, Flowery Branch, and I say it's 1A, 1B. I know Ben's going to send me some snarky text, but that's okay. That's okay. Now we've given them motivation, so we've done our job.
I don't know.
And then I'd probably.
I honestly will say here, I think probably Coach Hall would rather be number 2 instead of 1B.
You think so? Maybe. I don't know. Well, but I think just because of what Jefferson has coming back, what North Oconee and Madison are losing. Madison's not a traditional football school. I mean, that's the deepest run, I believe. Those were their first ever playoff wins in program history last year. They won 2, and their deepest playoff run
as
ever.
a 4 seed.
So, as a 4 seed. So, what are you going to get from them this year? They're not a traditional school. They lose a lot of guys. So I'm going to go with Jefferson, Flowery Branch right there. I'll probably go with North Oconee, and I'm going to tell you, I think it's really going to be a dogfight between East Hall, Jefferson, and Madison County and Cedar. I mean, I just don't know. We'll have to see what Cedar brings to the table when you look at all of what they lost, with their, with the quarterbacks and the receivers. They do have the big stud running back. So probably Jefferson, Branch, North Oconee, Cedar, I think just on reputation. But again, I think East Hall, I think Chestatee, I think every team in this region is going to be a player.
Well, this should be interesting. Region.
So what do you think?
What I think? You're going to throw it back on me, huh?
Oh, yeah. You
I'm
can't get away
leading
that
this
easy.
horse. What are you talking about? No, I tend to agree with you, not often, but on this assessment here, because
whoa, let's mark the time. What day are we on? I don't know what day we're on.
What is it? Friday?
I don't know. I think it's September though. I'm not sure. It seems
close
like
to it. Yeah. So I'm going to go with I'm going to lean with Jefferson out of the gate, as you said, and Branch. Definitely, I think they're my clear-cut favorites in the region, who I think that game's going to come down to the championship. The top spot in the region. Let me put it that way. Not necessarily the championship, but I think that game will determine the top spot in the region at that point. I don't know what. Let's see, what date is that game? Those two play each other on September 24th. So relatively early in the season.
Early in the season. In fact, that's the region opener.
So.
Woo.
That's an interesting.
Wow.
So they open the region with that game.
That's going to imagine the pressure that's going to put on the loser, knowing you pretty much you're going to have to win
that
out.
Is in Jefferson. So
that is in Jefferson.
Very interesting. So we'll know early on that game is going to set the pace for the region. Now, throw out Cedar Shoals, North Oconee, as you said. North Oconee lost, the entire team. I mean, if you look at
pretty much, I mean, they lost a lot of people. That's what I'm saying.
A lot of people. So it's hard to pick them in there in the top 4, but you don't know. I don't know exactly what they have coming back.
Right.
Of course, I see who they have coming back, a few of them, but don't know what they bring back to the table. So I'm going to go top 2, Flowery Branch and Jefferson. Then I'm going to say it's a free-for-all for 3 and 4. What team interests me, as far as improvement the most is East Hall. Really want to see what Coach Perry, will have and has done. And granted, he's been off for 2 months because of the COVID.
Well, but their second season.
But it's their second season under his air raid offense. So this is going to be interesting because Cooper, with 2,400 yards passing last year, was 10th in the state.
And probably still getting it, and still trying to figure it out. I mean, I think that's what I'm saying. I think they're a huge X factor. I really do. Do they have enough that they can challenge Jefferson and or Flowery Branch for the region? I don't want to go there yet. But I think that they're gonna challenge for a playoff spot. I do.
But you mentioned also the defense when we were talking about East Hall earlier. That's going to have to be a drastic.
They got to stop.
There's another team that has a pretty decent offense but needs a defense too, and that's Chestatee. Because last year they had a decent Christian Charles, as their quarterback. I mean, he's one of the most dynamic players in the area. Already picked up a couple of P5 offers, and so. If they can get that together in Chestatee, maybe they look good in the region this year.
The only thing that worries me there is they lost their top 2 tacklers that combined for 243 on the season, including Reg James, who was a monster. I mean, he was 135 total tackles last year. I mean, that's more than 10 a game.
Oh, I know.
I mean, if you figure teams are running 60, 70 plays on you, I mean, you're getting to the ball, just a lot. So because some of those are half tackles, not just full tackles. So he's probably in on half the plays last year on defense. That's a huge hole. They're going to have to fill that. So we'll see what they have. But I think offensively they're going to be able to move the ball as they always have. You're right. They're going to have to find some defense.
I think, like we said earlier, Flowery Branch, Jefferson, Cedar Shoals may be up there, top 3, and then 4 maybe a free-for-all. That's the only prediction I can give you at this moment. And I just know that this region, the way it's changed, is going to make for, great football week in and week out. And that's something that we missed a lot last year, is that we would look at the schedule and be like, this is going to be
It was so top heavy for most regions. That was the problem. And the teams were on the bottom just simply were not very good. And so I'm really hoping with the realignment, initially on paper, it looks like there's a lot more balance in the regions of the ones that we've covered so far. And I like that. All
right, Jeff. Well, another good one, man. Just enjoy talking football.
Always. I feel like this is I really enjoy talking about the different regions. I think it's really compelling to see kind of where we are. It's great to hear from the coaches. We pulled off our first 2 coach in one thing, and I think we pulled that off. Again, no disrespect to Perry or Sean Connolly at Chestatee or anybody else for not having them on, but we just simply can't get to everyone. But they know that we're going to be talking to them when we get going.
Well, speaking of that, our next region, in Region 7-3A, has the most area coaches in it.
And we will be taking donations.
So as we roll down the regions, we'll hit Class 3A.
Let's just now we don't want to do anything that's unethical, but highest bidder could work. I don't know. I don't because I don't know how. We may just have to pull names.
Yeah, I don't know how we're going to do that.
I don't know how we're going to.
Regions.
But
we're get Region 7-3A and Region 8-3A with East Jackson.
That could be a 3-part series in itself.
Be a 3-part,
for the amount
especially
of
if we get David Bishop on. That's going to have to be a 3-part series in itself, just period.
Well, we thought we were going to have that with Cathcart, but it's not often you're able to throw a saddle on a Mustang.
No, but we call it Cathcart early.
Cathcart, but I thought we did good.
Oh,
I thought we did good. We at least put the fence in. We had the fence.
Yeah, we can't be. Yeah, it was a good interview.
That's tough to do. That is tough to do. We love you, Gene. We love you, Coach.
We got to get out of here. So next week, Region 7-3A and Region 8-3A. Of course, 8-3A, only one team with East Jackson, but we'll take a look at those as our Region Rundown series continues. Jeff on Twitter at HardJJ22. I'm at the Bo Wilson, at WDUN Sports, at Friday Game Nights, and on Facebook, Instagram, keyword search Access WDUN Sports.